Good morning and welcome back to our live virtual tour of the Glendive Dinosaur and Fossil Museum. Alden, why don't you say hi to everybody out there?
Hi.
All right, well, we are glad to have you back and joining us here. We ended our time on Tuesday with our entryway area, and we want to now just kind of review what we did and give people a chance to get on live. Couple of quick reminders. You can go to our webpage at creationtruth.org and you can print off the Junior Paleontology worksheet. And then when we get all done with our tour through the museum, you can send us information that you've completed it, and we will send you out one of our nice little Junior Paleontologist buttons. Alden has one, don't you, Alden?
I have two of them.
You have two of them? You're hoarding them. Okay, I see how it is. So Alden is going to help us, guide us through the Junior Paleontology portion. And we will be here every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. And you can join us right here on our Facebook page as well. So thank you for joining us. Welcome back. Couple quick reminders is we present our exhibits in the context of biblical history. And that means we believe the Bible's an accurate history of the world, and that how do we think that the fossils got here?
The flood.
The flood, yeah. So we're going to talk about that and why the flood is a good explanation for the fossils being here. So let's just kind of review a little bit. Who is this, Alden?
Stan.
Stan, how did he get his name?
From a person who was named Stan from North Dakota.
It was South Dakota. Yeah, good. That's close. South Dakota, and that is how he got his name. And we talked a little bit about Stan, and Stan is a cast of the original skeleton. Original skeletons in Hill City, South Dakota. So let's make our way over here, talk about a couple things right here. Alden, why don't you step right up here, and we can talk about these things. We have some real bone here in our glass case, so come over here and stand by me so the kids online and everybody online can see those bones. Some of the different bones from an Edmontosaurus, Triceratops. Something I forgot to mention was that the way Edmontosaurus got its name was the location it was originally found. You can probably figure that out. Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So Edmontosaurus. And that is how that particular dinosaur got its name. It's a duck-billed variety. Up here, we've got our Allosaurus cast. And we have our Allosaurus model. And our Allosaurus model, what's its name? Do you remember? I told you. I didn't tell you last time, but...
Steve?
Steve. It's named after Steve Hamilton, who was a children's pastor at Faithy Church in Billings. And that is how he got his name. So, in our entryway, we see examples of casts, real bone, and models as well. So as we make our way over to this part of the museum, Alden, should we just stay out here or should we go into the museum?
Let's go into the museum.
Okay, you excited?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now you've seen the museum quite a bit, but it's still exciting to see. So let's make our way into our first room, and we're going to kind of walk over here. Alden, if you'll stand right here, and we can talk a little bit about this particular exhibit. This is our seafloor exhibit, and you can see down below you we have a glass bridge that you can cross, and we try to make it feel a little bit like you might be in water and you're going through the ocean. So this particular exhibit, many of the animals in here are found as fossils in what's called the Cambrian layer of the fossil record. Now, the Cambrian layer of the fossil record is really the lowest layer that you really start finding a lot of fossils. There is a Precambrian layer, but the Cambrian layer is where a lot of animals start popping up. And so the question we often ask is, so what do these animals all have in common? Are they all simple creatures, which is what you would expect when it comes to an evolutionary way of thinking? Or is there another explanation that would fit how the Bible describes history, and especially the flood? Well, in the Bible, and I'm going to ask you this question. If you don't know, Alden, you can just say so, and I'll explain it. But where did most of the water come from for the flood? Do you know?
The rain.
There was rain. That's exactly, that's a great answer, and that's what a lot of people say. What we think is that much of the water came from under the crust of the earth. Did you know that there is water even now under the crust of the earth? And during the flood, it describes water coming up from the fountains of the deep. So we think that God split open the crust of the earth, and under the ocean surface, down on the floor, it would have split open and water would have come rushing out from under the crust of the earth. Water that was probably under pressure. It was warmer water, would have come rushing out, and it would have caused big tsunamis. What's a tsunami?
Waves?
Like big waves, yeah. It's like the water would come up really high and start going towards land, and there'd be a lot of dirt, sediment in that water as well, and it would begin to bury things as it went, right? That would make sense. So as the water moved toward land, it would begin to bury things that were where? What do you think some of the first things it would bury? Before it got to land, what would it bury?
Fish.
Okay.
Fish.
And yeah, like things that are on the bottom of the seafloor. Bottom-dwelling creatures on the seafloor. So, what do the Cambrian creatures have in common? Well, most of them are bottom-dwelling sea creatures. Isn't that cool? So we think it fits what the Bible talks about as to how certain things would be buried and why these creatures are so deep down in the fossil record. So as we go through these animals, one thing you're going to find too is these are not simple creatures. These are very complex creatures. And let's just talk about a few that are actually in the Cambrian layer. So we're going to start actually on this side. So Alden, why don't you come over here and you're going to point out some of these things. Now we don't have any specific questions about this particular exhibit. So let's start with this guy right here. So come step right over here by me. And right here, do you know what that thing's called? Try to say it.
Anomalocaris.
Close, really close. That was a really good attempt. Anomalocaris. Anomalocaris. And it means abnormal shrimp. And that creature is absolutely incredible. Look how big it is. Let's see if we can get a picture with Alden standing beside it so you can kind of get an idea of how big that creature is. So the Anomalocaris was a creature that would have swam along the bottom of the ocean, and it had these lobes. So go ahead and step over here, and if you can zoom in, step over here, and if you can zoom in on those lobes on the side of the Anomalocaris, you will see that it was designed perfectly to swim efficiently, and as it would move through the water, there wasn't a lot of tension there, and so it could swim pretty fast and move very smoothly through the water. So some have said that this creature hunted trilobites. We don't know that for sure, but it would make sense that maybe it would go after things like trilobites, which were on that same level in the Cambrian area. Now, a lot of the Anomalocaris fossils are found in what's called the Burgess Shale up in Canada, right around Alberta, British Columbia. And you can see that on our sign on the map over there in the upper right corner as well. So another creature that's really abundant in the Cambrian layer is, what is this creature right here, Alden?
A trilobite.
They're trilobites. Now, trilobites are all over the fossil record, and they vary in size from the size of a thumb all the way up to a dinner plate to even bigger, couple feet long. So they can be very, very large, very small. Trilobites have eyes, and some of them have no eyes, And then there's other kinds of eyes that trilobites have. But I want to talk about one particular kind. It's a schizochroial compound eye. And I don't even know if I'm saying that right. But the eyes on these trilobites, some of them are some of the best eyes ever made. They are designed by God to fulfill a specific purpose. Now, when you look in the water, Alden, and you reach in to grab something that's on the bottom, is it always where you think it is?
No.
No, because light bends when it's going through the water into the other atmosphere that is around us. So the other medium that the light's traveling through, it bends. So it's not where you think it is. The trilobite eye could correct for that. So it could, when it looked outside the water and maybe a bird was coming along to get it, it saw the bird exactly where it was at. So it could avoid the bird getting it. Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really neat. So the thing about the Cambrian layer is these creatures are not simple creatures. They are very complex. They just have in common that they're water creatures, most of them, on the bottom of the ocean. So that's pretty cool. I think that gives us somewhat of an explanation from the Bible as to why these creatures are found in those lower layers, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at over this side. Let's just look at one creature over here. So stay right over here. Look at that thing down there. If you want to take a look, get a picture of that guy down there. That is an Umunosaurus, a model of an Umunosaurus. It's known as Eric the Plesiosaur. And this particular Umunosaurus, the one that this is modeled off of, was actually opalized. It's a fossil skeleton that had turned into opal. And did you know, a lot of people say that opals take a long time to be made. Any gemstones or anything like that, that they take a huge amount of time to be formed. But a guy named Dr. Len Cram, who's an opal researcher, he has been able to grow opals in a matter of weeks. So it doesn't take very long to make an opal. And we think, again, this fits the flood because the flood conditions would have made it the perfect environment to form fossils, because you need water, you need sediment, you need minerals, you need rapid burial. All of these things would have been perfect during the flood of Noah's day. And so we think that gives the best explanation for these fossils existing. Now, the Umunosaurus is not found in the Cambrian layer, but it is something that we have in this particular exhibit as a water creature. So come on up over this way, Alden. And okay, so let's stand right here. So are we missing anything else in this room? I mean, is there something? Well, I don't know. Maybe we should just move on. What are we missing?
What is that thing?
Oh my word! What is that thing? Whoa! Look up there. What do you think it is? If you didn't know what was in the other room, I know you've been in the other room. If you didn't know what was in the other room, what do you think it would be?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. It kind of looks like an eel or a snake or something like that. But it, in fact, let's go ahead and go in here. It, in fact, is a mosasaur tail. So look at that. Wow, that thing is huge. So let's look at your sheet here for a second, and let's look at the question, first of all, about the mosasaur. The mosasaur, there it is right there. Read that question.
How long is the mosasaur?
How long is the mosasaur that we have in our museum? Now, this one is named Sophie, this particular mosasaur. And if you've seen the movie Jurassic World, how many of you have seen Jurassic World? Well, in Jurassic World, one of the famous creatures is what?
Mosasaur.
Is a mosasaur. The mosasaur at the end of the movie Jurassic World eats the bad dinosaur, Indominus Rex. And Indominus Rex gets pushed into the water, and the mosasaur comes up and eats the Indominus Rex. Now, I want you to look at this mosasaur, Alden. Do you think that this one could swallow a T-Rex?
Yeah.
You think so? Look at that. Do you think that thing could swallow a T-Rex?
Maybe.
Well, they could eat a T-Rex by bit, but there's no way that mouth is big enough to swallow a T-Rex, right?
Yeah.
They couldn't even get the head in its mouth, hardly. So, in the movie, that mosasaur is about 100 feet long. Do you know how long this mosasaur is?
No.
Do you know? Let's go see. Let's look at the sign and see if we can figure it out. Let's see. Look, what does it say right there? How many feet?
40 feet long.
So this mosasaur, Sophie, is 40 feet long. So go ahead and fill out your little junior paleontology sheet and mark 40 feet long. That is what Sophie is, and that's about as big as they find them. They found a couple that were a little bigger, but 40 feet, 41, 42, somewhere in there is about as long as they've found. So what do we know about Hollywood? They like to exaggerate, don't they? They make up stories about dinosaurs and stories about all of these different creatures. And so just to remember that these creatures are made by God, and that much of what you see on TV is going to be an exaggeration of something that has been found. So always remember, if you're watching something on the History Channel, Discovery Channel, National Geographic, a lot of it they don't know for sure. It's what they think might be the case. And so we want to point that out as well. So let's go over here and let's talk about some other things in this seafloor. So let's look at these seashells. Now we got seashells all around this exhibit. We got seashells that extend from end to end in this particular room. And the question sometimes people ask is, well, why in the world do you have seashells in a dinosaur museum? What do you think, Alden?
Because they were in the ocean.
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of seashells have been found as fossils. Did you know that? Almost all the kinds of seashells that we have today are actually in the fossil record as well. And 95% of the fossil record is made up of shallow marine organisms like seashells. So I think you have that question on there. Why don't you read that question? It says what? Right?
Fossil seashells are found on the highest mountains. True or false?
So is that true or false, Alden?
That is true.
That is true. So not only do we find seashells everywhere in the fossil record, they are on the highest mountains. Now, what does that mean, that mountain that has fossilized seashells on it, that mountain was at one time, or that land that is that mountain was one time underwater. Now, we're going to talk about it when we get upstairs, but we don't think that the mountains were as large pre-flood as they are today. So we'll talk about why that is and what we think God did to move the earth around in another episode. But our seashells, throughout this, we have examples of different varieties, and then we also have fossilized examples of many of them as well. Well, before we move on, let's start one of the next questions on your sheet. It's actually the first question on the inside of the sheet. What does it say?
How many clownfish can you find in the marine exhibit?
How many clownfish can you find in the marine exhibit? So what's a clownfish? What's another name of clownfish that a lot of times kids call them? Do you know?
No.
It's from yeah, you do. It's from the movie Nemo's. A A lot of little kids, yeah, that's right. A lot of little kids think of them as Nemos, right? So sometimes they don't know what a clownfish is, so you tell them, well, find the Nemos and count those. So let's start counting them here, buddy. Let's see here what we can find. Can you find any clownfish right in this area?
There's one right there.
Oh, there's one right back there. See it back there? All right, hopefully you can see that. So add that clownfish to your list. There is also, and we're still looking, we're kind of looking through here. If you look down in there, on the wall there is one. There's a little one right down in there, right under that yellow fish, right?
Yeah.
Do you see that one now,
Yeah,
Alden?
I do.
Yep, see that one? I think, nope, oh, I think I see some more. Do you see the other ones?
Yeah, there's one right there.
Oh, there's one right back up underneath the mosasaur. Now, it might be hard for you guys to see it. I hope you can see it back there. But there is a clownfish right back in there as well. How many do we have so far?
2. Or
3. Yeah, we have 3 so far, right? So we're at 3. And as we go around the mosasaur here, let's see if we can find some more. Let's see. Oh, you see one?
There's 2 actually right there.
There are 2 right there as the camera makes its way over here. There are 2, and it might be a little bit hard to see right down there by the octopus. There's a couple down there, and it might be a little bit difficult to find them, but there's 2 there as well. So we are up to 5. Is that right? We're up to 5. Now, right over here, just as we're keeping counting, so we're at 5 clownfish, so remember that. Look at that shark's jaw right there. Did you know there's a lot of shark teeth found in the fossil record as well? In fact, if you come down below here, see that big tooth right there? That's a big shark's tooth. That's a megalodon tooth. Largest shark that ever lived, megalodon tooth. Really pretty amazing. That's a real megalodon tooth. And the shark jaw in the back is a real bull shark jaw. So the shark teeth, the reason there's so many shark's teeth is they're always losing their teeth. They kind of pop up from the back side, and they'll lose the teeth in front, and then there'll be another one come up to take its place. So let's keep going over here. Now, back there behind this fish, kind of next to that black and white fish, what do you see over there? What do you see over there on the wall?
Clownfish.
Another clownfish. Yeah, good job. Way to spot that clownfish. So what are we up to now?
6.
We are up to 6 clownfish. So let's keep looking over here and looking at some of the other things in this exhibit. We have some fish called ichthyodectes. Now these fish are saltwater fish. And many times they find them in places like Kansas and Nebraska. Now, do you know of any oceans near Kansas and Nebraska? No, that's right in the middle of the United States, right? So that's a really interesting thing. And how do we explain it? Well, if you believe in long ages, some people think that there was an inland sea that went through the middle of North America. But we think that during the flood and after the flood, a lot of water settled in the middle of North America. And so you would have these things buried even in places like Kansas and Nebraska. Let's see if we can find any more clownfish. Let's see, look back there in the corner.
There's one.
Do you see one? Yep, I see it. I see it. That's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. And we are up to how many now? 7 clownfish. That's pretty cool. We now have 7 clownfish that have been counted. And then as we make our way around here, this is a plesiosaur. And plesiosaurs are really cool creatures as well. and they're also a marine creature. And we find those in different spots in the fossil record as well. And as we move over here, I want to talk a little bit about this massive turtle. So if you can take a look at the turtle, we're going to talk about that a little bit, and I just want to kind of introduce it, and then we will come back to the turtle next time. So this particular turtle is a Protostega gigas. It's one of the largest turtles. It's not the largest. There's one even larger than that as well. And we are going to talk more about creatures that are found in the fossil record that are a lot larger than they are today. And is there a biblical explanation for that? Well, we think there is, and I would encourage you to see if you can research that and take a look at that. But we're going to wrap things up now because we don't want to keep you for a long time today, and then we'll start our next episode right here. So, Alden, come here just for a second, and let's remind everybody, when are we going to be online?
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Tuesday, at what time? You remember? 11 a.m. Mountain Time. So come back and join us, and we are excited to have you be a part of what we're doing here. Just a reminder, if during this time that we're having to be closed, if you can support us in any way financially, I encourage you to go to our webpage and click on the donate button. Also, we appreciate your prayers very much. If that's what you can do. Please pray for us. We would love to have you do that for us as well. So until next time, thank you for joining us on our virtual tour of the Glendive Dinosaur and Fossil Museum. Bye.